Let's install some linear oblique cladding from James Hardie. It's going to be a hoot. Hi, Len here. This week Rhea and I are back at the Addington units installing a whole bunch of weatherboards. I've done a whole bunch of research leading up to this. I've consulted the manufacturer's specs, the architectural plans, and run a few things past the project manager. A lot of the basics of installing oblique will also apply to other types of weatherboards, especially ones that interlock like this. Before we get started, I'll take you through some of the preparation we've done, and I'll take you through the equipment that you need. Before you can put on your cladding, you need to do a whole bunch of preparation, and a lot of that was done before I arrived on site here. So the first thing is you need to get your cavity closers, or vermin strippers they used to be called. A lot of builders still call them that. In this case, the architect has specified that we use the aluminium closer, which is a little bit different in function to the plastic one. So these ones interlock with the oblique cladding, whereas the plastic ones will sit underneath it. But because they interlock, they need to be installed at the right height so your cladding can fit at least 50mm below your bottom plate. Ideally, you would go around and laser them all to height. Unfortunately, the architect has also specified aluminium closers above the windows, not understanding that that causes an issue. Because the aluminium closers determine the height of the weatherboard that sits on them, and because of the interlocking nature of the weatherboards, we can't space them out to follow the manufacturer's specs. So it worked out for the windows, we would need to space the boards out at 190mm instead of the designed 176mm, which is just too much. It will mean that they don't interlock. So we're going to have to remove the aluminium closers above the windows and replace them with the normal plastic ones. The next step is getting your cavity battens on. In this case, because our boards are going horizontally, our cavity battens need to be put on vertically, and they need to be at a maximum spacing of 600mm. In some cases, around corners, windows, and changes in cladding, we need to put a double batten just to ensure that we have adequate fixing for our boards. The last thing you need to do is put your flashings on. This is the part that I did do on my first week when I came here. Around the windows there is a jam flashing, or a J flashing, which stops water from getting in that gap between the window reveal and the framing. It's crucial that you check that your cladding will fit in between your window flange and your wall, and in some cases you may need to buzz off the battens a little bit. For corner flashings, we use the oblique specific flashings, the W internal corner flashings and the box external corner flashings. Both of them needed to be notched around the aluminium closure at the bottom so that they hang down to the height that the oblique will sit at. For the external corners, you can do a traditional box corner, but it will take longer and probably be a bit more expensive. And for any changes in cladding, we use Dynaflash, which is just a plastic flashing, which is pretty easy to put on. In some places, the contractors installing the other types of cladding have put their own flashings on it. So what equipment do you need? The boards come pre-sealed, but any cuts need to be sealed with an exterior grade sealer. Where you put the boards on, they need to be sealed with MS, which is a paintable exterior grade silicone. There should be MS put on the outside as well, but we'll leave that one for the painters. We are gun nailing them on, so we need a Nomar tip for our nail guns. We're using galvanized 65 by 2.87mm ring shank nails. If you're in Zone D, which is close to the ocean, you should be using stainless steel nails. If you don't have a nail gun, or you just don't like the idea, personally I don't like the idea, you can hand nail them using 60 by 3.15 Hardie Flex nails. Cutting these boards, you can't use a normal blade on your circular saw, you need to go buy a special one, which is quite expensive. Also got myself a diamond blade on my grinder so that I can cut some of the tricky bits like around windows. We also need some safety equipment, so your standard safety equipment, safety glasses, earmuffs, etc. But because it's cement based, at the very least you want a vacuum on your saw, you want to be cutting outside in a well ventilated area, and be aware of people around you as well. You should wear a dust mask or respirator. I tend to just hold my breath if I'm doing a small cut, but if I'm doing a bigger cut or using the grinder that gives off a lot more dust, I will definitely be reaching for the respirator. Alright, let's crack on, eh?
I'm in.
There's two types of linear oblique, 200mm and 300mm. We're using 200, so our nails need to be 100mm from the bottom, and at the ends they need to come in 40mm. of an issue with these windows, so it needs to go 10mm under the window, but because the boards need to slot in from above, how can we do that? What do you reckon?
Probably take this one back out, or measure what we need for the next one going in, chop it out, take the bottom one back out, slide the next one up, put this one in, and then drop it back down.
Oh yeah? Sign them off!
Sign them off.
Got to come 10mm under here. Just drawing a picture. You in?
Yep.
Beautiful. There we go. That's the one.
That's the one, eh?
We made a good start today. We're still figuring out the best way of doing it. There's no way of getting boards in around those head flashings without having a cut somewhere, so I'll have a look at the specs and figure out the best way to do it. When it comes to penetrations around pipes or cables, this is the way I like to do it. Grab myself an offcut, slot that on there, and then mark the height of the centre of the pipe. Measure to whichever end is going to be exposed. So in this case, measure to this end rather than to that end, which will be hidden. 1085. Make a quick note of the size of the pipe. 1937 to it. And then I go and mark that. Here I'm going to have to cut it and have a join there. The other issue that we've got is this is longer than the length of the whole boards. You can't just join them like you can in some systems. So we need to put a trim flashing there. We also need to put some battens there so we've got nailing points for the boards. So we get a little piece of trim line just where those battens are, and then another one on the other side. So yeah, it will be 3 pieces, but I think it's probably the tidiest look. What I do is make a little offcut, and then I can mark my head flashing where it needs to go. That way I'm marking the right height. I want to get a measurement from that end.
What kind of gap are we allowed to have around it?
5mm above there, okay?
Oh, okay. Get down from there.
Because it's lunchtime. Yeah. That's my 4th attempt. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. And got a nice 5mm gap above this. So I can seal it, silicone it on. I'll cut that flashing and put that in as well. This is going over a head flashing, which is 15 degrees. I'm going to cut that at the same angle. I've got my saw set up at the reverse bevel. I'll cut the angle first. So the long point needs to be the outside. You can use a timber blade. You just need to be quite gentle on it. Got Andrew giving us a hand cutting today, so hopefully we can make a bit more progress. Oh, beautiful! I'm really proud of you, eh? Andrew, 1800 level, please. When it comes to corners, it's really important that you line them up so that they meet at the same height, rather than obsessing about things being level. I've gone level across that corner because they don't meet with any boards there, but in there it would visually look horrible if they didn't line up. Smoko time on Thursday, and I've just started work, so I spent the last few hours running around getting supplies, having meetings with project manager to sort out some things, and getting Ree and Tyler sorted out. Yeah, that's right, Tyler. Tyler still works for Chris in Wanaka, however he's deciding whether he wants to move to Wanaka or stay working here. So in the meantime he's loaned to Sam, who you've met a few times, and Sam has loaned him to us. Hopefully a while, because we really need a bit of a push to get some work done. This morning I'm going to focus on doing the longest run right behind the house. With this cladding, what you cannot do is simply butt join them or even do miters as you would with normal weatherboards. You need to put some of that trim line in there and have a really obvious joint. Personally, I think it's ugly, but we have to install it that way because if we don't and something ever goes wrong with the cladding, we the builders are responsible. So when it comes to figuring out how long my flashing needs to be, so similar to how I did the flashings when I first started here, just hang a piece of oblique on there, and that gives me the height that I need to cut it to. And then I'm going to need to notch it around this cavity closure as well. There we go, so that is what I'm trying to achieve. Bloody good having Tyler here today. He's been building for longer than me, I think, 3 years or so. And he's done heaps of cladding, so probably knows more than me. He can do basically any job, so he's cutting for me at the moment. He's been doing the bits around the head flashings, bits above the windows, which lets me get on with doing other things. Knocked out a lot today. Got a chance of having it done tomorrow, otherwise we'll be back after this episode's out. Hola!
You know, you want to leave it ready. You can really.
Yeah, the reverse effect. Yeah, I reckon we just take this groove off. So that's pretty much been the story of this cladding. Every time we get to a window or up top where we can't lift the board up, we need to cut this groove off so that we can slot it in. Still try to leave a little bit on there so it can't pull out. It just makes it a lot harder to put on than normal weatherboards. There we go. Now we're in. It started to rain, so I've sent the boys home. We weren't going to be able to finish today anyway because we're still missing some flashings. In the 2022 oblique instructions, there's this one line that's been added under the fire control section. And that is that at 3.5 meters, if there are bedrooms on the upper floors, there needs to be a break in the cavity. So we're still waiting on custom made flashings, which will sit hopefully in line with this feet down here. But we've got a section up the front of unit 1 as well. So because of that, we can't proceed up and finish this in that section. But we've got most of the rest done. Me and Tyler probably will knock it out in another day, I think. We'll find out, I guess, next week. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in a fortnight. Cheers!